Good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of Science to Sleep By. As you settle in, let your mind drift into a softer space. Tonight, we'll take a gentle journey into the chemistry and wonder of something beautifully familiar: rain. For many of us, the sound of rainfall is more than just weather. It's a lullaby, a rhythm of nature that calms our minds. Together, we'll explore the quiet science behind the raindrops, uncovering the molecules, the scents, and the timeless cycle that makes every rainfall feel like home. So, breathe deeply, relax, and let the science of rain carry you peacefully toward rest. There's a particular silence that comes before the rain, a kind of pause in the natural world that seems to still both the earth and the human mind. It is as if the sky holds its breath, and we, without realizing it, hold ours as well. The air feels different in those moments, as if the world is waiting for the very first drop to fall. That first raindrop carries with it more than water. It carries a story, a signal, a reminder of a cycle that has been happening for billions of years. And yet, for us, it is experienced as something deeply personal and intimate. The gentle sound of that first drop landing on a leaf, a rooftop, or the ground is often enough to invite us into a state of calm. It is the beginning of something we cannot control, yet something that feels familiar, even comforting. For many, the first sound of rain is not simply a signal of weather, it is a call to relax, to slow down, to listen. The brain is finely tuned to respond to changes in the environment, and rain provides one of the most subtle yet profound shifts we can experience. When the first drop falls, the auditory system detects it as something distinct, not jarring, but soft and rounded. Unlike harsh noises that can trigger stress responses, raindrops register as low-frequency sounds, soothing to the nervous system. These frequencies interact with the brain in a way similar to music or white noise, guiding neural activity toward calmness rather than alertness. Our ancestors may have benefited from this response, as the arrival of rain often meant the replenishing of water, growth of vegetation, and the promise of life. So, for countless generations, the sound of rain became associated not with danger, but with renewal. This deep evolutionary association may explain why even today, with all the complexity of modern life, we still feel safe and at ease when we hear those first drops begin to fall. Think of the experience in a familiar American setting. Perhaps you are sitting by a window on a quiet evening, a warm drink in hand, the world outside illuminated by the dim glow of streetlights. Suddenly, you hear the soft, irregular tapping of the first drops against the glass. At first, it is scattered, unpredictable, like gentle fingers playing on an invisible drum. Then, slowly, the rhythm builds, layering sounds until it becomes a background symphony. In those moments, your mind begins to wander, but not in the restless way it does when overwhelmed by daily demands. Instead, it drifts softly, like a leaf carried by a stream. The very sound of rain seems to say, "Here, you can rest. Here, you are safe. Here, the world outside is being washed clean while you remain sheltered and calm." Scientists have studied the psychology of rain sounds and discovered that these sounds mask other, more disruptive noises in the environment. This is known as sound masking. The first raindrops act almost like nature's curtain, gradually covering the sharp edges of a noisy world. A car passing on the street, the hum of distant traffic, the irregular creaks of a house settling, all of these fade into the background. When the sound of rain begins, the brain, freed from the task of constant vigilance, relaxes. And when vigilance relaxes, so too does the body. Heart rate slows, muscles unclench, and breathing becomes deeper and more rhythmic. This is why the first drops of rain, small as they may be, begin a process of physical unwinding that eventually leads to deep rest and sleep. But beyond the science, there is poetry in this beginning. Rain often falls in ways that remind us of childhood. Perhaps you recall the first time you pressed your face against a window, watching droplets race each other down the glass. Or maybe you remember lying in bed, blankets pulled high, as a storm began outside, each drop like a note in a lullaby. Memory works in mysterious ways. linking sensory experiences to emotional states. The first drop of rain does not only mark the arrival of water, it unlocks a vault of memories, each tied to comfort, safety, or moments of reflection. For many people, especially in the United States where seasonal rains often punctuate the year, the sensory memory is a thread connecting past and present, weaving together countless evenings, road trips, or lazy afternoons spent listening to the sky. There is also a rhythm to the way rain begins. The first drop is solitary, then followed by another, and another, until the pattern becomes steady. This gradual build mirrors the way our minds transition from wakefulness to rest. At first, thoughts come irregularly, scattered and unpredictable. But with time, a rhythm emerges, one thought leading to another, until consciousness settles into something smoother, quieter. The first drops of rain guide us into this process, marking the passage from alertness to relaxation, from tension to surrender. In a sense, the first drop is not simply water, it is a signal, a natural cue reminding us that it is okay to let go. When scientists measure brain activity while people listen to rain sounds, they often notice shifts toward slower brainwave patterns, the kind associated with meditation, relaxation, and sleep. The brain, in its complexity, responds to the first drops of rain as though they are familiar. The auditory cortex recognizes the pattern, while other regions of the brain associate it with safety and shelter. This is why so many sleep apps use rain as a background sound. It is not only aesthetically pleasing, it is biologically effective. And yet, the true magic lies in experiencing the real thing. No recording can replicate the unique resonance of raindrops landing on your roof, your window, your garden. Each drop is an original sound, a singular moment in time, reminding us of the uniqueness of the present moment. Culturally, rain has long been seen as a beginning. In literature, film, and music, the arrival of the first drop is often used as a symbol of change, renewal, or emotional release. For audiences in the United States, where weather varies dramatically from coast to coast, rain can carry many meanings. In the Pacific Northwest, it might feel like a daily companion. In the arid Southwest, it can feel like a long-awaited gift. Wherever it falls, however, the first drop seems to carry with it the same universal message. Nature has begun to sing, and we are invited to listen. And in listening, we discover something about ourselves, a capacity to slow down, to take comfort, to feel connected to a world larger than our own routines. So, as we think about the quiet chemistry of rain, we must begin here, with that single, gentle drop. It is the threshold moment, the soft opening to a symphony that will soon follow. The brain responds, the heart responds, memory responds, and slowly, so does the body. The first drop is not simply the start of rainfall, it is the start of a journey into calmness, a doorway into rest, and a reminder that sometimes the most powerful beginnings are also the quietest. Long before the first drop of rain touches the earth, the air above us is already preparing. Invisible to our eyes but perceptible to our senses, the atmosphere undergoes a quiet transformation when rain is on its way. Many of us notice it without realizing why. The air feels heavier, cooler, sometimes carrying a faint metallic tang or a deep earthy aroma. These subtle signals are not imagination. They are the result of molecules at work, tiny chemical messengers that announce the arrival of rain even before we see or hear it. For generations, people have sensed this change in the air, but only in recent decades has science uncovered the chemistry that makes it possible. One of the most important players in this story is ozone. High above the Earth, in the stratosphere, ozone is famous for shielding us from harmful ultraviolet rays. But lower in the atmosphere, near the ground, ozone can form during storms. When lightning splits oxygen molecules, the atoms can recombine into ozone, which is made of 3 oxygen atoms instead of the usual 2. Ozone has a sharp, fresh smell, sometimes described as clean or electric, almost metallic. When the wind carries it down to us before a storm, we experience that distinctive scent. For people in many regions of the United States, this sharp fragrance is an unmistakable sign that rain is on the horizon. Even though most of us could not identify ozone by name, our noses recognize it as a messenger of approaching weather. It is a reminder that the chemistry of the air is constantly shifting, influenced by forces far above our heads. Alongside ozone, another important contributor to the scent before rain is petrichor. The word itself is poetic, coming from the Greek words for stone and essence of the gods. Petrichor is the name given to the earthy aroma that rises when rain meets dry soil, but its story begins even before the first raindrops fall. Plants release a variety of oils during dry periods, and these oils accumulate on the surface of soil and rocks. When rain is imminent, the humidity of the air increases. Microscopic pores in the soil, rich with these oils, begin to interact with the rising moisture. Even before raindrops strike, the humidity can lift faint traces of petrichor molecules into the air, giving us an early preview of that beloved earthy smell. When the rain finally does arrive, the impact of raindrops against soil releases these compounds more forcefully, but our noses are often aware of them in advance, attuned to the chemical whispers that precede the storm. Another molecule that plays a role is geosmin, a compound produced by soil-dwelling bacteria called actinomycetes. Geosmin is incredibly potent. Humans can detect it at concentrations as low as a few parts per trillion. Its smell is earthy, rich, and almost sweet, the essence of soil itself. When the air grows damp before rainfall, geosmin molecules are stirred into motion, carried upward to where we can inhale them. For many, the scent evokes powerful memories: gardens after summer rain, fields darkening under passing clouds, walks in the countryside where the ground releases its fragrance freely. Scientists believe our sensitivity to geosmin may have roots in survival. The ability to detect water-rich environments, signaled by geosmin, would have been an advantage for ancient humans searching for resources. Today, although most of us no longer hunt for water in the same way, the scent still brings reassurance and calm, a sign that the earth is alive and being nourished. Combined effect of ozone, petrichor, and geosmin creates the unmistakable atmosphere before rain. Each molecule tells part of the story, and together they weave a sensory tapestry that is both scientific and emotional. The body responds not only through the nose, but through the nervous system. Studies have shown that scents directly influence the limbic system, the part of the brain tied to emotion and memory. This is why the smell before rain often feels nostalgic, taking us back to moments of comfort, safety, or reflection. Perhaps you remember standing on a porch in the American Midwest as a summer storm rolled in, or walking along a coastal boardwalk where salt air mixed with the scent of ozone. Wherever you are, these molecular signals connect the external world to your internal one, turning a natural event into a deeply human experience. But the chemistry before rain is not limited to molecules we can smell. There are also changes in ions and particles in the air. As storm clouds build, the movement of water droplets and ice crystals within them creates electrical charges. The atmosphere begins to fill with negative ions, and when these ions reach the ground, they can subtly influence the way we feel. Some studies suggest that negative ions may boost serotonin levels in the brain, creating feelings of calm and well-being. Whether or not every detail of this effect is fully understood, many people report a distinct shift in mood when rain approaches. The heaviness of the air, the coolness of the breeze, and the charged particles combine with familiar scents to create an environment that is both calming and invigorating for people living in different parts of the United States. The chemistry before rain can feel unique. In the deserts of Arizona, for example, the scent of petrichor is especially strong after long dry spells, when plant oils and soil compounds have accumulated in abundance. In the lush landscapes of the Pacific Northwest, the smell of geosmin blends with the fragrance of mosses and evergreen trees, creating a deep, forest-like aroma. Along coastal regions, the scent of ozone often mixes with salty sea air, giving the pre-rain atmosphere a briny sharpness. Each place has its own version of this chemistry, yet the core molecules remain the same, uniting us in a shared sensory language of rain. Even the human anticipation of rain has a chemical explanation. When the barometric pressure drops, as it does before storms, it can influence our bodies in subtle ways. Some people feel joint stiffness or headaches, physical reminders that the atmosphere itself is changing. At the same time, our brains are quietly detecting the molecular signals in the air, often before we consciously register them. This anticipation creates a peculiar psychological state, half alert, half soothed. We may feel restless before the rain begins, only to relax once the first drops fall. In a sense, the chemistry of the air primes us for the transition, preparing both body and mind for the rhythm that will follow. What makes the molecules before rain so fascinating is their dual nature. On one hand, they are entirely physical, the result of natural processes unfolding in predictable ways. Oxygen atoms split and recombine, bacteria release compounds into soil, plant oils accumulate and rise with humidity. On the other hand, these molecules carry profound symbolic weight. They trigger memory, emotion, and imagination. They turn the atmosphere into something more than weather. It becomes a story, an experience, a moment of connection with the natural world. In the stillness before rain, when the air is heavy with unseen chemistry, we are reminded of how deeply our senses link us to the planet's rhythms. Rain is more than water falling from the sky. It is sound sculpted by nature, a quiet orchestra that plays differently with every storm. Long before we analyze the chemical composition of droplets or the cycle that carried them from sea to sky, what reaches us first is sound. It is primal, immediate, and deeply woven into the way we experience the world. The music of rain is never static. It shifts, evolves, and adapts depending on where it falls, what it strikes, and how we are listening. This constant variety is part of why rain is so endlessly soothing. It is predictable enough to be calming, yet unpredictable enough to hold our attention without overwhelming it. When raindrops fall, they generate sound not only by striking surfaces, but also by interacting with the air they pass through. A raindrop, depending on its size, vibrates as it falls, creating a tiny hum of air displacement. Large drops, often formed in heavier showers, create deeper sounds, thuds and splashes, that resonate in lower frequencies. Smaller drops, which drift lightly in mist or drizzle, produce higher, gentler notes. Together, these varying frequencies form a natural kind of white noise, a balanced mixture of tones across the spectrum. White noise, as scientists have observed, is especially effective in promoting relaxation and sleep, because it masks other irregular sounds. The brain, always alert to unexpected noises, relaxes when surrounded by a steady wash of sound. This is why the patter of rain on a rooftop or window can lull us into deeper rest than silence itself ever could. The surfaces rain touches are as important to its sound as the drops themselves. Picture a light shower falling on a forest in the Appalachian Mountains. Each raindrop lands on leaves of different sizes and shapes, bouncing, splitting, and sliding down. The broad leaves of oaks produce a low, muted patter, while the thin needles of pines create sharper, quicker notes. Together, they form a layered soundscape, as though the trees themselves were instruments. Now imagine the same rain falling on the tin roof of a countryside home in the Midwest. The sound becomes metallic and rhythmic, almost percussive, like a drum keeping steady time. On city streets, raindrops hit concrete, glass, and pavement, producing sharp plinks and splashes that merge with the hum of traffic until the storm's voice overtakes all else. Each environment transforms rain into a unique performance, and our ears instinctively listen for its rhythm. The regularity of raindrops is another key to their soothing quality. Unlike a mechanical ticking clock or the repetitive hum of machinery, rain never repeats itself in a rigid pattern. Its rhythm is stochastic, meaning random, but within a recognizable structure. Our brains, wired to detect patterns, find this balance deeply satisfying. It is the same reason we are drawn to waves on the shore or wind through trees. The sound of rain provides gentle unpredictability, enough to keep us engaged, but never so much that it startles us. This balance between familiarity and surprise mirrors the flow of thought as we drift into sleep, one idea fading into another, never repeating exactly, yet always moving forward. Scientists have measured the decibel levels of rainfall and found that even heavy storms rarely reach harmful ranges. A light drizzle might register around 20 to 30 decibels, quieter than a whisper, while a steady shower can rise to 50 or 60 decibels, comparable to soft conversation. Thunderous downpours may reach higher, but even then, the sound is often absorbed and softened by the rain itself. This places rainfall in a range ideal for human comfort, loud enough to be heard clearly, but soft enough to soothe rather than alarm. Our ears, tuned by evolution to respond to threats like snapping branches or sudden cracks, interpret rain differently. It is continuous, non-threatening, and deeply rhythmic. Instead of triggering alertness, it encourages release. A cultural memory plays its part in shaping how Americans experience the sound of rain. In the South, summer rain often falls in sudden bursts, warm and heavy, drumming against porches and tin roofs. Generations have grown up rocking in chairs or resting in hammocks, letting the rhythm of storms carry them into afternoon naps. In the Northeast, rain often accompanies autumn, tapping softly against windows as families gather indoors, the sound mingling with the warmth of kitchens and firelight. On the West Coast, coastal rains blend with the ocean's voice, one wave of sound folding into another. Each region has its own association with the symphony of raindrops, and those associations embed themselves into memory, making the sound of rain not just weather but heritage. There is also a fascinating physics in the way raindrops create bubbles when they strike water. A falling drop may trap a pocket of air as it merges with a puddle, pond, or river. This bubble vibrates briefly, emitting a high-pitched tone before collapsing. Multiply this by millions of drops, and rain on a body of water becomes a chorus of tiny resonances, a music created by air and liquid dancing together. Oceanographers study these sounds to understand rainfall patterns over the sea, but to the human ear, they are simply part of the rain's endless variety. Even a small puddle in the street can act as a stage for this micro-symphony, each splash and bubble contributing to the larger performance. The human nervous system is finely attuned to the acoustic texture of rain. Research into sleep has shown that variable, low-frequency sounds like rainfall help synchronize brainwaves into slower rhythms. This is particularly true for delta waves, which dominate deep sleep. When people fall asleep to rain sounds, their brains are literally being guided by the acoustic environment into rest. This is why recordings of rainfall are among the most popular sleep aids worldwide. Yet, as comforting as recordings can be, the live performance of real rain carries subtleties no speaker can replicate. The shifting direction of the wind, the sudden increase or decrease of intensity, the way drops strike different materials with ever-changing tones. This complexity is part of its magic, reminding us that nature's music is always alive, always new. Psychologists suggest that the sound of rain also creates a sense of shelter. When we hear raindrops striking a roof or window, we are subconsciously reminded that we are protected from the elements. This feeling of safety enhances relaxation, reinforcing the brain's readiness for sleep. It is the same reason people often find camping in a tent during rain so memorable. The thin fabric may not be much, but the sound of rain against it creates an intimate cocoon, a space where one feels enclosed and comforted. That cocoon of sound is part of what makes the symphony of raindrops timeless. It not only calms the body but also reassures the mind. The irregular cadence of rain has even been compared to music therapy. In many ways, rain functions as a naturally occurring therapeutic soundtrack. Its tempo varies gently, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, never jarring. Its pitch ranges across frequencies, never monotone. Its volume swells and recedes, like the rise and fall of breath. These qualities mirror the dynamics of music designed to calm and restore. Except rain requires no composer, no conductor. Nature itself orchestrates the performance, and we, simply by listening, become part of the audience. Each storm is a concert, freely given, waiting only for us to notice. If Keynote 1 gave the first drop of rain as a gentle beginning and Keynote 2 revealed the unseen molecules that signal its arrival, Then Keynote 3 shows us how rain announces itself in sound. It is not silent water, but a voice. A layered, shifting voice that speaks to the deepest parts of our nervous system. The physics of sound becomes more than equations and vibrations, it becomes experience, memory, and rest. The symphony of raindrops continues to play wherever there is sky, earth, and falling water, reminding us that the most powerful music often requires no instrument at all. Our few experiences as universally cherished as the scent that rises when rain meets the earth. It drifts to us softly, carried on currents of damp air, rich and grounding, both fresh and ancient at once. We call this fragrance petrichor, a word coined in the 1960s by two Australian scientists, Isabel Baer and R.G. Thomas, who sought to name what people had known instinctively for millennia. Its roots lie in Greek, petra, meaning stone, and ichor, the fluid said to run in the veins of the gods. Even in its name, petrichor carries a sense of reverence, as if it were more than just a smell, but a sacred essence of the living earth itself. When rain falls and releases this perfume, it does more than perfume the air. It awakens memory, eases the mind, and reminds us that we are connected to the cycles of soil, plant, and sky. Science behind petrichor is both simple and extraordinary. During dry periods, plants release oils into the soil and onto rocks. These oils act as survival mechanisms, helping seeds remain dormant until conditions are favorable for growth. Over time, the oils accumulate, forming a delicate film that coats surfaces in subtle layers invisible to the eye. Alongside these oils, soil-dwelling bacteria called actinomycetes quietly produce a compound known as geosmin. Geosmin is the heart of petrichor, an earthy, slightly sweet molecule so potent that humans can detect it at concentrations as low as a few parts per trillion. When raindrops strike the ground, they trap tiny air bubbles, and as those bubbles rise and burst, they propel these oils and molecules into the air. The result is the unmistakable fragrance of rain on earth, a scent that speaks of renewal, of life beginning again, of balance restored. What makes petrichor remarkable, how deeply humans respond to it. Smell is the most ancient of our senses, tied directly to the limbic system of the brain, where memory and emotion reside. Unlike sound or sight, which pass through several layers of processing, scent goes straight to the regions that govern feeling and recall. This is why petrichor can transport us instantly to another time or place. A whiff of that earthy aroma might call to mind summers spent running barefoot through wet grass, or autumn evenings walking home as sidewalks steamed after sudden rain. In the American Midwest, petrichor often mingles with the smell of cornfields and open plains, while in the Southwest deserts, it carries the distinctive aroma of creosote bushes, whose oils release powerfully after rainfall. Each region has its own variation, yet the underlying essence is the same, binding people across landscapes with a single sensory thread. There is an evolutionary story to petrichor as well. Scientists believe that our sensitivity to geosmin may have been advantageous to our ancestors, guiding them toward water-rich environments in times of need. A heightened ability to detect moisture in the air or fertile soil would have offered a survival benefit, leading humans to favor habitats where life could flourish. Over countless generations, this response became ingrained not only in our biology but also in our psychology. Today, though most of us no longer wander the earth in search of fresh water, the attraction remains. We breathe in petrichor and feel safe, nourished, reminded that the earth is providing for us in ways both visible and unseen. The emotional resonance of petrichor is particularly striking in American culture, where rain often carries symbolic weight. In literature and film, rain is frequently used as a metaphor for cleansing or renewal. The scent of earth after rain enhances that symbolism, grounding it in real sensory experience. Imagine a quiet suburban street after a summer storm. Lawns glisten, pavement steams, and the air is thick with petrichor. Children might step outside barefoot to splash in puddles, while neighbors pause on their porches, breathing deeply as if to take in the moment itself. The smell tells them that the storm has passed, that freshness has returned, that life continues. In rural farmlands, petrichor is a sign of hope, the promise of fertile soil and healthy crops. Farmers, deeply attuned to the land, often welcome this fragrance as reassurance that their labor is connected to cycles older than memory. In cities, it cuts through exhaust and concrete, momentarily reminding residents of a more natural rhythm beneath the urban surface. The power of petrichor extends into its ability to calm the nervous system. Studies in environmental psychology suggest that natural scents can lower stress levels, reduce anxiety, and even improve mood. When rain releases geosmin and plant oils into the air, they do not simply appeal to the nose, they interact with the brain's chemistry. The association of petrichor with safety, shelter, and nourishment reinforces a sense of well-being. It is no accident that rain sounds paired with the imagined scent of earth are often used in sleep therapies and relaxation exercises. Our minds, even without the actual molecules present, are conditioned to respond to the idea of petrichor with relaxation and peace. This speaks to how deeply the fragrance has embedded itself into our consciousness, becoming more than a sensory detail, and instead a trigger for comfort itself. Different environments across the United States give petrichor their own unique signatures. In the Pacific Northwest, where evergreen forests dominate, the earthy aroma of rain blends with resinous notes from pine and fir, creating a scent that feels both grounding and invigorating. In the deserts of Arizona and New Mexico, the fragrance of rain is infused with the sharp, distinctive oils of creosote, a plant so iconic that residents often describe desert rain as smelling like life itself. Along the East Coast, where salt, marshes and ocean breezes meet, petrichor is softened by the briny tang of sea air, creating a layered scent, both earthy and marine. Each variation reminds us that petrichor is not just one smell, but a spectrum of aromas shaped by climate, vegetation, and geography. Yet all of them are recognized instantly as the perfume of rain, nature's quiet signature. The cultural memory of petrichor runs deep, shaping how people write, speak, and dream about rain. Poets describe it as the breath of the earth. Novelists weave it into scenes of renewal. Filmmakers use it to evoke atmosphere without a word spoken. But beyond art, petrichor lives in ordinary experience. It is in the moment when a family driving across Kansas rolls down the windows after a sudden summer storm, filling the car with the earthy scent of wet soil. It is in the pause of a hiker in the Rockies, who stops not to look at the mountains, but to inhale the fragrance of rain soaking into the trail. It is in the quiet satisfaction of city dwellers in Chicago or New York, who, stepping outside after a downpour, find the air momentarily freed from the usual heaviness of exhaust, replaced by the raw smell of rain on concrete and soil. These moments anchor us, reminding us that we belong to the earth's cycles, whether we live in deserts, mountains, or cities. Petrichor also carries with it a sense of impermanence. It lingers briefly, strongest just after rainfall, then slowly fades as the air dries and the sun returns. This fleeting quality makes it precious, a reminder to savor small moments. Just as we cannot hold on to a raindrop, we cannot capture petrichor permanently. Perfume makers have tried, and while synthetic recreations exist, they never quite replicate the authenticity of rain meeting soil. The real scent, ephemeral and delicate, is inseparable from the moment itself. Its impermanence mirrors the passing of storms, the cycles of weather, and even the transience of human life. Perhaps this is part of why petrichor resonates so strongly. It is a reminder of time itself, of fleeting beauty, of the necessity of change and renewal. The earth's perfume is not simply a product of chemistry. It is an experience that bridges science and spirit. It begins with molecules, yes, plant oils, geosmin, atmospheric shifts, but it becomes much more once it touches the human mind. For a moment, as we inhale petrichor, the boundaries between the external and internal blur. We are not only smelling rain on soil, we are feeling the turning of the earth, the renewal of life, the memory of countless rains before and countless rains yet to come. It is the earth reminding us, through scent, of its quiet generosity, and its eternal cycles. Every raindrop that falls from the sky carries with it a story, a journey that began long before it reached the ground. At first glance, a raindrop appears simple, just water falling through air, but when we look more closely, its passage is filled with transformation, interaction, and subtle chemical processes that shape not only the drop itself, but also the world it encounters. In many ways, the life of a raindrop is a dance, one choreographed by physics and chemistry, played out countless times across the earth. From the moment it forms high in the clouds to the instant it splashes against soil, a leaf, or a rooftop, a raindrop is never still. It moves, shifts, and changes, carrying particles, dissolving gases, and influencing the environment with every step of its descent. The dance begins far above, in the cool regions of the atmosphere where water vapor condenses around tiny particles called aerosols. These aerosols can be dust, sea salt, pollen, or even microscopic pollutants released from human activity. Without these particles, water vapor would struggle to condense into droplets, for it needs a surface on which to gather. As molecules of water cluster together, they form microscopic droplets so small they are invisible to the human eye. Billions of these droplets float within clouds, colliding and merging, sometimes breaking apart again. The result is a constant ballet of formation and reformation, each droplet existing in a delicate balance between condensation and evaporation. It is within this balance that raindrops are born. As droplets grow larger, they begin to fall, pulled downward by gravity. Yet their motion is not simple. A falling raindrop encounters resistance from the air, shaping it into something quite different from the perfect teardrop often drawn in illustrations. In reality, small raindrops are nearly spherical, while larger ones flatten at the bottom, resembling tiny hamburger buns. If a drop becomes too large, air pressure causes it to break apart into smaller ones, each continuing its descent. This continuous reshaping gives raindrops their dynamic nature, as if they are dancers adjusting their form mid-performance to suit the forces surrounding them. Along the way, raindrops interact with the chemistry of the atmosphere. As they fall, they dissolve gases from the air: carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, and even trace amounts of sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxides. The dissolved carbon dioxide reacts with water to form a weak carbonic acid, which is why rain is naturally slightly acidic, with a pH around 5.6. In heavily industrialized areas, additional pollutants can lower this pH further, producing acid rain, which has harmful effects on ecosystems and human structures alike. Yet even in its natural state, this mild acidity plays a role in weathering rocks, enriching soil, and helping release essential minerals into the environment. A single drop of rain is thus both a carrier and a catalyst, transporting gases from the sky to the ground and triggering reactions that shape the landscape over time. Raindrops' chemistry also affects the air it passes through. As it collides with airborne dust and particulates, it gathers them, cleansing the atmosphere in a process scientists call scavenging. This is why the air often feels fresher and cleaner after a rainfall. The raindrops have literally washed away impurities, pulling them out of suspension and carrying them down to earth. In urban areas, this process can temporarily reduce smog, clearing the air of fine particles. In natural environments, it redistributes nutrients, returning elements like nitrogen to the soil where they can be taken up by plants. Each droplet, in this way, is like a tiny courier, delivering both purity and nourishment as it descends. The interaction between raindrops and surfaces is perhaps the most visible part of their dance. When a droplet strikes soil, it may break apart into smaller droplets, splattering outward in a miniature explosion of energy. Some of these tiny droplets rebound into the air, carrying with them bits of organic matter, bacteria, or spores, dispersing life in unseen ways. On leaves, droplets often bead up due to the waxy coating on their surface, rolling gently until they merge with others, eventually dripping down to nourish the roots below. On rooftops, windows, or streets, raindrops create patterns of splashes and streaks, their paths tracing the contours of the surfaces they meet. Each impact is unique, influenced by angle, velocity, and texture, yet all are part of the same intricate choreographed chemistry within raindrops is also dynamic. As they fall, sunlight can interact with the molecules inside them, breaking them apart or rearranging their bonds. Raindrops can act as tiny prisms, refracting light into colors when the sun emerges after a storm, creating rainbows that remind us of the physical beauty behind the chemistry. Within clouds, before falling, raindrops sometimes freeze and thaw repeatedly as they move through layers of varying temperature. This process adds layers of ice, eventually forming hailstones. While hail is less soothing than gentle rain, it is part of the same continuum of water's transformations, a different expression of the same atmospheric chemistry. The role of raindrops in sustaining life cannot be overstated. As they move through air and soil, they carry with them nitrogen compounds formed by lightning strikes. These compounds act as natural fertilizers, enriching the earth and supporting plant growth. In forests, raindrops dissolve nutrients from decomposing leaves and transport them deeper into the soil, where they nourish roots. In agricultural regions across the United States, rainfall replenishes fields, sustaining crops that feed millions. Each drop, small as it is, becomes part of a larger system of renewal, a cycle that has been ongoing since long before humans appeared on Earth. Motion of raindrops also plays a role in shaping landscapes over geological timescales. Raindrops striking bare soil can dislodge tiny particles, contributing to erosion. Over centuries, the combined action of countless drops helps carve valleys, smooth rocks, and sculpt the terrain. The Grand Canyon, though largely formed by rivers, also bears the mark of millions of years of rainfall gradually wearing away stone. On a smaller scale, every storm that darkens a sidewalk or etches channels into a dirt path is a reminder of how water shapes the world drop by drop. The dance of droplets is not only temporary and fleeting, but also enduring and transformative. Its steps written into the very surface of the earth. For those who listen closely, the story of raindrops is also deeply human. In American towns and cities, the sight of raindrops racing down windows often inspires quiet reflection, their paths mirroring the meandering course of our own thoughts. In rural areas, farmers watch raindrops bead and roll across crops, knowing that each one brings sustenance. Children cup their hands to catch raindrops, marveling at the coolness of water freshly fallen from the sky. The chemistry and motion of raindrops may be grounded in science, but their meaning stretches far beyond molecules and forces. They are reminders of cycles that sustain life, of patterns that endure, of connections between sky and soil, between the invisible and the tangible. To watch or listen to raindrops is to witness a dance that has no composer and no end. It is choreographed by physics, guided by chemistry, and performed on the vast stage of the atmosphere and the earth. Each drop is both ordinary and extraordinary, a commonplace miracle that repeats endlessly, nourishing, cleansing, and shaping the world. The dance of droplets is happening all around us whenever rain falls, reminding us that what seems like simple water is in truth a moving, living, ever-changing expression of the planet's deep rhythms. Rainfall is one of the Earth's most ancient and effective systems of renewal, a force that arrives quietly but carries the power to transform the world. To the casual observer, it is simply water falling from the sky, yet to the Earth itself, rain is a cleansing ritual, a cycle that removes impurities, balances natural systems, and restores harmony to the air, the soil, and the waters that flow across the landscape. When we speak of rain as nature's cleanser, we are acknowledging its role not just as a provider of water, but as a purifying agent that sustains life in ways both visible and invisible. One of the most immediate ways rain cleanses the environment is by washing the air. The atmosphere above us is filled with countless particles, dust lifted by winds, pollen carried from flowering plants, microscopic bits of soot from cars and factories, and a host of other pollutants that drift unseen. As raindrops fall, they act like tiny collectors, attracting and absorbing these particles. This process, known to scientists as rain scavenging, works through both adhesion and absorption. The curved surface of a raindrop allows particles, to stick to it, while the water itself can dissolve certain gases and compounds as it falls. With each drop, the air becomes a little clearer, a little fresher. This is why so many people notice that the world smells and feels different after a rainstorm. The air has literally been scrubbed clean in cities across the United States, where pollution and smog can accumulate. Rainfall provides temporary relief. Streets that once shimmered with exhaust fumes are rinsed, buildings lose their layer of dust, and the air becomes easier to breathe. For urban dwellers, this cleansing effect is not only physical but psychological. The scent of freshly washed air and the sight of glistening pavement signal a reset, however brief, in environments that can often feel heavy or oppressive. In rural landscapes, rain performs the same work, though the particles it washes from the air may be pollen, soil, or wildfire smoke. Wherever it falls, rain serves as the atmosphere's natural filter, restoring clarity to the unseen medium that surrounds us every moment of our lives. The cleansing power of rain extends to the land itself. When rainfall touches soil, it seeps downward, filtering through layers of rock and sediment. Along the way, it dissolves minerals and carries them into underground aquifers, replenishing wells and groundwater reserves. At the surface, it washes away accumulated salts, redistributing nutrients and maintaining soil health. Farmers across the Midwest rely on rainfall not just to water crops, but to keep the soil balanced and fertile, preventing harmful buildups that might otherwise hinder growth. Even in forests and wildlands, rain carries organic matter deeper into the earth, feeding the roots of plants and supporting entire ecosystems hidden beneath the surface. Rivers, lakes, and oceans also benefit from rain's cleansing touch. When storms roll across the land, rainwater gathers into streams and tributaries, replenishing the bodies of water that sustain countless forms of life. These waters are not only refreshed in quantity, but often in quality, as rain dilutes concentrations of pollutants. While it is true that runoff can also carry chemicals or debris into waterways, the broader cycle of rain serves as a regulating force, continually renewing the hydrological system that all species depend on. On coastlines, rainfall can alter the salinity of estuaries, creating shifting habitats where fish, birds, and plants thrive. In mountain ranges, melting snow from winter storms provides fresh water that trickles down through valleys all year long, feeding rivers that stretch across vast distances. Each drop of rain contributes to this circulation, cleansing and renewing in motion. Beyond its direct impact on physical systems, rain plays a vital role in reducing atmospheric pollutants on a global scale. When raindrops absorb sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides from the air, they help remove gases that would otherwise linger and contribute to smog or respiratory illness. While high concentrations of these gases can lead to acid rain, in moderate amounts they are naturally cycled back to the soil, where they become nutrients for plants. This dual role of rain, sometimes harmful in excess, yet beneficial in balance, underscores its complexity as nature's cleanser. It is not a simple, one-directional process, but a dynamic system of exchange where purification and nourishment are intertwined. On a more personal level, the cleansing power of rain resonates with human emotion. Many people describe feeling renewed after walking through a gentle drizzle or stepping outside after a storm. Part of this is sensory: the cooler temperatures, the softer light, the smell of petrichor rising from the earth. But part of it is symbolic. Rain has long been associated with washing away the old, making room for the new. In countless stories, films, and traditions, rain marks the turning point of renewal, a moment when characters shed burdens and find clarity. Americans across different regions experience the symbolism in their own ways. For some, it is the fresh start of spring showers after a long winter. For others, it is the relief of a summer storm breaking a stifling heat wave. However it comes, the rain reminds us of the possibility of cleansing not just the earth, but ourselves. The cleansing extends even to sound. When rain begins to fall, it masks the harsher noises of daily life, covering them with a steady rhythm that feels softer, more natural. This acoustic cleansing is subtle but powerful, giving our nervous systems a chance to rest from the constant stimulation of traffic, machinery, and human activity. For many people, this quieting of the environment is as refreshing as the physical washing of the air. It is why so many sleep soundly with rain tapping on their roofs, why so many people pause to listen when a storm begins. Rain's cleansing is not only external but internal, washing through the senses and easing the restless mind across the United States. Regional differences give rain's cleansing character a particular flavor. In the deserts of the Southwest, storms are rare, but when they come, they wash dust from the air and awaken dormant plants. The transformation is dramatic, as dry landscapes burst into bloom, nourished by the rare gift of water. In the Pacific Northwest, where rain is frequent, its cleansing feels constant, streams running clear and forests refreshed. In the Midwest and Great Plains, thunderstorms sweep across the land, scrubbing skies filled with dust and pollen, leaving behind clear horizons. Along the East Coast, rain often arrives with oceanic storms, its cleansing mingling with the briny air, renewing both land and sea. In every region, rain serves as a reminder that the earth is always balancing itself, always finding ways to restore equilibrium. The cleansing effect of rain also connects to cycles far older than human history. Long before cities or agriculture, rain was shaping the air, land, and seas, ensuring that ecosystems remained viable for life to flourish. Fossil evidence suggests that rainstorms played a role in weathering the rocks that first released minerals into ancient oceans, minerals that would later become essential to the rise of life. In this way, every rainfall today is part of a lineage stretching back billions of years, a continuous process of cleansing and renewal that has made the earth habitable. When we feel the freshness of the air after rain, we are experiencing not only a local event but a phenomenon tied to the very origins of life itself. For humans, the symbolism of rain as cleanser carries spiritual and cultural meaning as well. In many traditions, water is associated with purification, whether in the form of baptism, ritual washing, or sacred rain dances. These practices reflect a recognition, conscious or not, of rain's power to cleanse, both physically and symbolically. To stand in the rain, or even to listen to it, is to participate in an ancient rhythm that ties body, mind, and spirit to the earth's cycles. It is a reminder that cleansing is not a luxury but a necessity, something written into the very chemistry of our planet. When rain falls, it is never simply water descending from clouds. It is an agent of renewal, scrubbing skies, rinsing streets, nourishing soils, and resetting ecosystems. It is both a physical process and a symbolic one, a force that restores balance to the earth and peace to the human spirit. Every storm, whether a light drizzle or a torrential downpour, carries within it this dual power to cleanse. It is part of why people breathe more deeply after rain, part of why the world feels brighter and fresher, part of why we instinctively sense that something important has shifted. Rain does not merely fall, it heals, it resets, it restores. Rain is not just a meteorological event, it is an experience that we carry with us, a sensation tied deeply to memory, emotion, and the fabric of our lives. Across the United States and around the world, people have described rain in countless ways as soothing, nostalgic, melancholic, joyful, or peaceful. This wide range of feelings comes from the fact that rain is not only part of the natural environment, but also part of our inner worlds, shaping how we feel and how we remember. When we speak of the human connection to rain, we are talking about a relationship that is both universal and intimate, one that begins in childhood and stays with us for a lifetime. For many people, memories of rain are among the earliest sensory experiences they can recall. A child listening to raindrops on a roof while tucked safely in bed, a family gathering around windows to watch a storm, the excitement of running outside to splash in puddles. These moments imprint themselves with sound, smell, and feeling. The steady rhythm of rain has a way of embedding itself in the subconscious, and when we encounter it again as adults, those memories come rushing back. The sound alone is enough to stir emotions that we might not even realize are connected to Past experiences. This is part of the comfort rain provides. It is a bridge to simpler, safer moments. A reminder of times when the world felt sheltered and secure. In the United States, regional differences shape the way rain becomes part of memory. In the South, afternoon summer showers are a rhythm of daily life, and many people associate them with long, humid days followed by the relief of cooling rain. In the Midwest, childhoods often include memories of thunderstorms rolling across wide plains, lightning flashing, and the comforting ritual of gathering indoors with loved ones while the storm passes. On the coasts, rain carries the scent of the ocean, mingling with salt air and becoming part of the identity of place. For those raised in the Pacific Northwest, where rain is frequent and persistent, it is not just weather but a constant companion, woven into the backdrop of life. Wherever one grows up, rain takes on the emotional texture of home, attaching itself to landscapes and experiences that define who we are. The comfort rain brings is not only tied to nostalgia, but also to biology. Scientists have studied the effects of rainfall on the human nervous system, and what they have found helps explain why so many people fall asleep more easily to the sound of rain. Raindrops create what is known as pink noise, a sound profile that is more balanced and gentle than the static of white noise. This even distribution of sound frequencies helps calm the brain, reducing alertness and encouraging rest. The rhythmic, non-threatening pattern of rainfall signals to the body that the environment is safe, allowing us to relax more deeply. This connection between rain and rest is universal, which is why rain recordings are some of the most popular soundtracks for sleep across America and beyond. But the connection goes even further. Rain has a way of slowing life down. Streets become quieter, people linger indoors, plans pause, and a softer pace emerges. This enforced slowing is often experienced as comforting because it contrasts with the usual rush of daily routines. In modern American life, where schedules are often crowded and the pace can be relentless, rain offers a natural reprieve. It gives permission to rest, to curl up with a book, to brew a warm drink, or simply to watch droplets trace their paths down a window pane. These small acts of slowing down create space for reflection and intimacy, fostering a kind of comfort that is difficult to find in the noise of constant activity. Rain also has a symbolic presence in human connection, particularly in stories, songs, and culture. Countless American films use rain to mark moments of transformation, reconciliation, or deep emotion. It is a visual and auditory cue for change, a setting in which characters confront themselves or each other. This cultural imagery shapes how individuals interpret their own experiences of rain, reinforcing the sense that rainfall is not just weather but a backdrop for life's meaningful moments. It is not uncommon for people to remember important conversations, decisions, or realizations happening during a rainstorm. In this way, rain becomes a companion to memory, a natural presence that frames the chapters of our lives. For some, rain brings comfort through its association with protection. The sound of rain outside while one remains dry and warm indoors evokes a sense of safety. This contrast, the wildness of the storm and the security of shelter, creates an emotional balance that humans are instinctively drawn to. It is the comfort of knowing that the elements are close but not threatening, that one is held by walls and roof while still connected to the natural world. This experience is common across the U.S., whether it is the patter of rain on a suburban roof, the hum of droplets on a city window, or the drumming of a storm on a farmhouse porch. The universality of this sensation speaks to something fundamental in the human psyche. The connection between rain and human emotion is also shaped by smell. The earthy scent of petrichor, rising when raindrops strike dry soil, has been shown to trigger deep emotional responses. In American cities, people often notice this fragrance after long dry spells, describing it as grounding or refreshing. On farms and in rural towns, the smell is even more pronounced, tied to the cycles of planting and harvest. Because scent is closely linked to memory, the aroma of rain can summon vivid recollections, sometimes so strong that people feel transported to another time. A person might be reminded of summers spent outdoors, of walks home from school, or of family evenings gathered as storms moved through. The sensory power is part of why rain holds such a deep place in human memory. There is also an intimacy to rain, a way in which it seems to close the distance between people, sharing an umbrella, huddling together under a porch, or simply watching rain with someone else creates moments of closeness that linger in memory. Rain sets the stage for connection, turning ordinary interactions into lasting experiences. Couples may remember walks in the rain, families may cherish the quiet evenings spent listening to storms, and friends may laugh about being caught in sudden downpours. These shared moments become part of the emotional fabric of relationships. Woven into the comfort rain brings rain's connection to memory, and comfort also extends into times of difficulty. For some, it provides a backdrop for grief or solitude, its gentle melancholy echoing their inner state. Yet even in sadness, rain offers a sense of companionship, a reminder that the natural world is moving alongside human emotions. In American literature and music, rain often symbolizes both sorrow and renewal, mirroring the complex ways people experience it. A rainy day can be reflective, giving space for emotions that are often pushed aside, while at the same time offering the comfort of knowing that storms pass and skies clear. This duality, comfort in both joy and sadness, is part of what makes the human connection to rain so enduring across cultures and generations. Rain has been interpreted as a blessing, gift, a cleansing, or a renewal. In the U.S., where weather varies so dramatically from one region to another, rain unites people in shared experience, even as its forms differ. Whether it is the soft drizzle of the Northwest, the thunderous storms of the South, the sudden showers of the East, or the rare but cherished rainfall of the desert Southwest, the human response remains consistent. Rain touches memory, brings comfort, and connects us to ourselves and to one another. It is a reminder that while life is often complicated, nature offers rhythms that are steady, familiar, and reassuring. The quiet chemistry of rain is not limited to its molecules or droplets. It is also written in human hearts and minds. It is in the way we remember the sound on our childhood windows, the scent rising from sidewalks, the feeling of slowing down on rainy afternoons. It is in the comfort of knowing that rain has fallen on generations before us, and will continue for generations to come, linking our experiences across time. Rain speaks to us not with words but with presence, and in that presence, we find memory, comfort, and connection. Rain is never just a fleeting moment of weather, never just an event that comes and goes without leaving a trace. Every drop of water that falls has a story, a history that stretches back billions of years. When we listen to the quiet rhythm of rainfall, we are, in a very real sense, listening to the echoes of Earth's deepest time. The water that moistens the soil tonight may have once been locked inside glaciers during the last ice age, or may have flowed as part of a river that nourished the earliest civilizations. It may have risen from the ocean under the sun's warmth just days ago, or circled the planet countless times through evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. This infinite cycle of water, from drop to cloud and back again, is one of the most profound natural processes on Earth, a chemistry experiment that never ends, carrying the memory of the planet's history in every molecule. Water cycle, sometimes called the hydrological cycle, is one of the most elegant systems in nature. At its heart, it is driven by the sun, which warms the oceans, lakes, and rivers, causing liquid water to transform into vapor. This vapor rises into the atmosphere, invisible to the eye but essential to life. As it ascends, it cools, condensing into tiny droplets that form clouds. Within these clouds, chemistry and physics mingle in complex ways, as droplets collide, merge, or freeze into ice crystals, until they become heavy enough to fall as rain. Once they reach the ground, the droplets begin the next stage of their journey. Some soak into the earth, nourishing plants and replenishing groundwater, while others flow into streams and rivers, eventually returning to the oceans where the process begins again. It is a circle without beginning or end, a movement that has been repeating since Earth first cooled enough to sustain liquid water. To imagine the infinity of this cycle is to realize that every raindrop is ancient, a traveler that has been in countless forms before arriving where it does today. The drop that lands on your window tonight may once have been part of a great storm over the Atlantic, or frozen inside the ice sheets of Greenland. It may have fallen as snow on the Rocky Mountains centuries ago, or been carried as vapor over deserts, waiting for the right conditions to fall again. This continuity ties us to the planet in ways we often forget. It means that the water in our rivers, in our coffee cups, and even within our bodies is part of the same cycle that has sustained life since the dawn of time. Scientists estimate that the water molecules on Earth are about 4.5 billion years old. And though they change states, liquid, vapor, they do not vanish. They continue, endlessly reshaping themselves within the rhythm of the cycle. There is a quiet chemistry in this endless motion. When water vapor rises, it carries with it not only pure molecules of HO, but also tiny particles and gases it meets along the way. Dust, sea salt, pollen, and even microscopic organisms can be lifted into the air, where they serve as nuclei around which cloud droplets form. The formation of a raindrop is not just water gathering itself. It is water meeting the world, interacting with the planet's atmosphere, and creating something new. As rain falls, it can carry traces of the sky back to the ground, nutrients, minerals, or even pollutants, depending on the environment. In pristine places, rainfall helps distribute life-giving nitrogen and phosphorus that plants depend on. While in industrial regions, it can bring down acids that alter ecosystems. In both cases, the chemistry of rain is an active part of Earth's cycle, never neutral, always interacting, always transforming. This cycle is not just physical or chemical, it is also ecological. Rain nourishes forests, replenishes wetlands, and sustains the rivers that carve valleys and feed crops. In the United States, the Mississippi River owes much of its flow to rain that falls across the Midwest, gathering into streams that converge into one of the largest river systems in the world. The Pacific Northwest's lush greenery is shaped by steady rainfall, while the deserts of the Southwest wait hungrily for rare but transformative storms. Each region tells its own story of rain, but all are connected through the larger global cycle. A storm that gathers moisture over the Gulf of Mexico may later release it in the Midwest as gentle rain on corn fields. A hurricane that strikes Florida is built from vapor rising far out in the Atlantic. The interconnectedness of these events shows that the water cycle is not local or regional, but planetary in scope. Humans are deeply dependent on this cycle. Every sip of water, every field of crops, every reservoir that sustains cities is part of this infinite movement. In the US, much of the drinking water comes from rainfall that has filtered through soil into aquifers, sometimes spending centuries underground before being drawn to the surface. The water that sustains us is not only essential but ancient, linking us to the rhythms of Earth in ways we rarely acknowledge in daily life. When we drink a glass of water, we are partaking in the same molecules that once nourished dinosaurs, filled prehistoric seas, or froze in glaciers long before humans walked the Earth. This continuity creates a sense of connection not only to nature but also to time itself, reminding us that life is part of something larger and older than we can fully comprehend. The cycle also carries within it a lesson of renewal. Just as rain falls and rivers flow, so too does water return again and again. Storms may come with intensity, bringing floods or destruction, but even then, the water eventually becomes part of the cycle that restores balance. Droughts may withhold rain, creating hardship and longing, yet the cycle always continues, bringing relief when the clouds return. This rhythm is one of persistence and endurance, a promise that water will find its way back, even when it seems absent. For people listening to rain at night, this understanding can bring comfort. The sound outside is not only soothing, it is a sign of renewal, of cycles that are larger than our own lives, but within which we live every day. The infinite nature of this cycle has inspired cultures for millennia. Ancient peoples saw rain as a gift from the heavens, a blessing that ensured survival. In Native American traditions, rain dances were rituals to call forth the nourishing water that sustained crops. In early agriculture across the world, rainfall determined prosperity or famine. Today, even in a technologically advanced society, rainfall continues to hold a deep significance. Farmers still watch the skies with anticipation, cities still depend on rainfall to replenish water supplies, and individuals still turn to the sound of rain for comfort and rest. The science of the water cycle is well understood, yet its mystery remains profound, because it connects us to forces greater than ourselves. Listening to rain at night is more than hearing droplets strike the ground, it is hearing the cycle itself. Each drop is a note in an eternal song, composed not just of water, but of time, chemistry, and motion. As the drops gather, they remind us of continuity, of a planet that sustains itself through endless cycles of renewal. The rain falling outside a window in New York is connected to vapor rising off the Pacific, to snow melting in the Rockies, to streams running through small towns across the heartland. It is all one system, one unbroken story told through countless variations. The sound is not only calming because it masks the noise of the world, but because it speaks to something deeper, something that has been present since Earth first formed oceans and skies. In this way, the infinite cycle of rain is not just science, not just chemistry, but a meditation on life itself. It teaches that everything is connected, that nothing is lost, only transformed. The rain we hear today will rise again, fall again, flow again, touching lives and landscapes far beyond our own. In every drop, there is both history and future, a reminder of what has been and what is yet to come. The quiet chemistry of rain is, at its heart, the quiet chemistry of existence, a cycle that sustains, renews, and endures across all of time. As we come to the end of this gentle journey through the quiet chemistry of rain, we can begin to see how something so familiar holds a universe of meaning within it. A raindrop is never just water falling from the sky, it is a story of molecules, carried on the wind, of scents that awaken memory, of sounds that soothe the restless mind. It is the perfume of petrichor rising from the earth, the rhythm of droplets striking rooftops and rivers, the dance of chemistry and motion as vapor becomes liquid, and liquid becomes life. Rain is not only nature's cleanser, washing the air and replenishing the soil, but also nature's comfort, a timeless lullaby that cradles us into calm. It connects us to our past, weaving nostalgia into the present moment, while reminding us that each drop is part of an eternal cycle water that has traveled the planet for billions of years and will continue long after us. Rain teaches us patience, renewal, and connection. It tells us that even in the quietest of nights, the earth is alive with chemistry, motion, and memory. It reminds us that our lives, like raindrops, are part of cycles larger than we can see, patterns that stretch across time and space. When we listen to the rain, we are not only hearing weather, we are hearing continuity, the sound of the earth breathing, the endless return of something that sustains all life. To rest with rain is to rest within the embrace of the planet itself, to find stillness in the soft rhythm of falling drops, and to be reminded that in every moment of calm, we are part of something infinite and enduring.